Hey, my name is Dominique Kennedy, and I tell stories about conversations. I was having a conversation with a dear friend this week about privilege, specifically privilege and the audacity that some cultures have, and they don't even know it. It's this kind of privilege where you move through life and you move about and around people, sometimes through people even, and you don't even recognize your faults, your errors, your shortcomings, and how that impacts the people around you, how that's perceived by those around you. So we were having this conversation because we were literally at a fireside chat with a beautiful couple who run this amazing $1 million nonprofit that serves youth in Atlanta. And we were standing there talking to the co-founder of the nonprofit. And sure enough, right in conversation, someone, maybe Becky, we'll call her Becky. Her name, I don't recall. We'll call her Becky. Becky kind of steps in, kind of slides in, kind of inserts herself to my right. And, we continue the conversation, really kind of diving deep into the points that were made and the connections to community and all the different things around code switching even, and how, the co-founder said, I don't code switch anymore. I really got this revelation really about maybe 2015 that I do this code switching thing and it does not serve me. And it actually teaches our youth, particularly the boys that we serve, it teaches them assimilation, and that's not what I want to do. So we were having this conversation, and again, Becky kind of brought herself in. So first we were positioned in a way where it's just the three of us speaking. And then at some point I said, you know what, let me position and angle myself so that it invites her into the conversation or the union. So, he turned to her, the co-founder turned to Becky and said, hey, what did you think about the conversation? And she really just didn't answer the question. Instead, she said, yeah, it was really impactful. I thought it was really a great conversation, but it did not answer what he asked her as it related to how did it make you feel when you heard certain points made, when there were certain things shared in the conversation. Like, how did you feel? How did those points land? Because some things were directed at you and your class and your culture and your demographic. How did that make you feel? So she didn't say anything. Okay, she didn't really answer the question. So my friend and I just kind of looked at each other and we kind of knew exactly what the other was thinking. And so we continued the conversation. And as we were continuing that conversation, now with the four of us standing there, Jim steps in, didn't even say, excuse me, didn't even excuse himself, didn't even try to tiptoe in and says, yeah, man, great talk. Really good job, daps up or whatever handshake that he and this gentleman, did together, because they know each other. I don't know in what capacity and to what degree, but Jim made it very clear early on in the conversation that they're friends and they know one another. And, I looked at it as like a social kind of mobility or social currency move. So Jim just stepped in and didn't even say, excuse me, right? And so we exchanged this look, my friend and I, and we're like, okay, I peep game. I recognize what's happening here. Apparently he doesn't, but again, privilege and audacity. So cool. So we were continuing the conversation. Jim stepped away after a while and we just continued through this exploration around the points that were made in the fireside chat. And so after that conversation, my friend and I left and we had to call each other and be like, hey, did you recognize that? And immediately we both confirmed that it was quite clear, again, the privilege, the audacity, the lack of awareness, the thing that people do when they move through life and move through a room in such a way, and they're so used to that movement, that cadence, that way, that they have no regard and no understanding as to the people around them. They're not reading body language. They're not checking facial expressions. They're not thinking clearly enough about how their positionality impacts and affects other people. So that was the conversation that was the part one of that, and there's more to come.